Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, Principal Atmospheric Scientist at Nutrient Ag Solutions, and I want to thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. We begin by just taking a look over the last couple of weeks of total accumulated precipitation, and your eye, I'm sure, is drawn to what's going on in the Mid-South and the lower Mississippi River Valley, where several of these fields in here, where we are desperately trying to get a crop planted and going, have seen in some locations over 14 inches of rainfall. And it's certainly been an active couple of weeks in terms of severe weather. Here's just the last 10 days showing 2,182 separate reports of severe weather. And we've been rocked in the Carolinas a few times over the last 10 days with some incredibly strong storms. Well, things are changing in the near term. We're going to talk about that in a few seconds, but I got to show you this. This was looking at the last 72 hours of total accumulated precipitation. And that really pesky upper level low that kind of sat here and just slowly meandered up to the northeast is what made our Easter across much of the eastern half of the country a bit of a cool one and a bit of a bothersome one in terms of precipitation. Now, let me show you something here. This is just a snapshot on Saturday the 20th, and where that upper level low was kind of sitting and spinning around Virginia, West Virginia, and the Appalachian Mountains there in North Carolina. Look at the cold air wrapped behind this. Now, it's kind of amazing on either side of this 60s, 70s, and 80s, but right in there, just a little bit to the west of the Carolinas, very, very cold air in place. In fact, it was cool enough that at times we did get some snow in parts of western North Carolina. Even parts of Indiana saw some snow out of this system over the last weekend. But this wasn't the big time snows, and this was certainly at higher elevation. But I just thought I'd show you what that system last weekend did. Now, let's get right on into the bigger picture here. I want to show you just your next week. So we're looking over here on the left at the European model prediction for total accumulated precipitation. And I know when you look at this, like, oh gosh, we got more rain that's coming. Well, let me tell you when it's going to get there. You're going to go several days in a row here of drier conditions before this system that slides into Texas finally moves across the southern tier of states, getting over toward the Carolinas for the weekend. Meanwhile, when you look at temperatures, that's the map over here on the right. This is the next 5 days looking at temperature anomalies for the whole 5-day time period, really getting us all the way out to Saturday, so a little bit longer than 5 days. What do we see? Well, where that upper level trough swings into Texas and moves east, things will be cool, but much of the country is enjoying warmer than average conditions throughout much of this week. So that's our bigger picture kind of thing to talk about. Now, we always diagnose the pattern by looking at the upper levels first. So getting us going early in the morning on Monday, well, here's that annoying upper level low still sitting and spinning just off the coast here. And it's finally throughout the day on Monday moving. It's going to be moving up to the northeast and getting out of our way. But this is the bigger feature we're going to have to watch this week. So sweeping out of Southern California on Monday, by the time we get into Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, it's going to be over Texas. So we got a multi-day kind of severe weather problem in Texas. But because of ridging over the southeast Carolinas, things are going to be nice all the way until we get to Friday. And it's Friday that this upper level trough finally sweeps through, bringing in the precipitation. So you got several days of drying down here before we get this next big system that kind of sweeps through. Now, after it goes through, I want you to see what happens here. We get this central Canadian trough that keeps the northern part of the United States cool. But if you are kind of south of that line, which of course we are over here, things are going to actually go back into a warmer pattern. And I'm actually seeing by the time we start the month of May, the models have been kind of hinting at this pattern for a while, that we may more often than not into the first week of May see ridging here over much of the eastern part of the country, but certainly centered there over the southeast. This is, again, to start the month of May. So this pattern is quite a bit different than the one we've seen, where these deep plunging troughs keep sweeping through, kicking off all the severe weather, and the model's saying that the pattern's calming down a little bit here. So if we just look all the way through Wednesday morning at our high resolution model, about the only thing we're going to deal with is there's a system going through the north central plains into the Great Lakes states, and it's going to try to drag a front right in through here. And as that front sweeps through, we may get some showers and storms that may creep into the western parts of North Carolina. But I honestly just think this ridge is going to dominate everything to start off our week, keeping things relatively dry. So that gets you through Wednesday. As we kind of take a look at the longer range outlook that we get from the European model, let's just start on Wednesday. You can see the high pressure already in place, but it will be Wednesday afternoon, evening that storm system finally ejects out of Texas. By Thursday midday is in the mid-Mississippi and lower Mississippi River Valley. By the time I get into Friday morning, it's here. This is Friday afternoon, evening. It's sweeping through the Carolinas. So we're going to go all the way until this Friday midday before we get our next chance at showers and thunderstorms. So after that moves through, there it goes. Higher pressure builds back in. So this is for the weekend. Higher pressure builds back in. And we just get a chance on Sunday, next Sunday, for some widely scattered showers, at least according to the current European model. But there's a lot up in the air about this system. You can see it over in Iowa, getting into Wisconsin. That's the system has to come through to get us these showers on Sunday morning. But it's difficult to pin down the location of this just yet. So overall, we're looking at a relatively drier pattern as we stretch this out over the next 10 to 15 days. And that's quite important to see because while the next 5 days the temperatures are warm, remember we saw this, really getting into day 5 through day 10, which is the map over here on the right, we continue to keep our near average to warmer than average temperatures because the cold stuff stays up here in the northern tier states. So what about when we get into May? Well, if this ridge develops, and I've got the European model that's over here on the left and the U.S. model over here on the right, they both say if that ridge takes place and gets set up there, our chances of going toward a cooler pattern are pretty slim at this point. And with the ridge over that location, this tends to point toward drier overall conditions. Now, this does not mean we won't be getting precipitation, but it's not coming through in the same way that we've seen throughout much of February, March, and April, okay, especially April here. So overall, this is painting a picture that when we just stretch out over the next 15 days, while we do have at least 2 time periods where it's going to be wet, overall, the picture is looking relatively dry as we progress into the first full week of May. So that's kind of our model analysis up to this point. Just want to quickly take you down to South America. The safrinha crop grown here in Brazil, again, they've got some wetter biases. This is really going to help that crop out. So this is primarily a corn and cotton crop, again, coming out of Brazil, and it looks good. I'll just tell you this, same thing is true down here for Argentina. Even though it's wet in the northern part of Argentina, their full season crops, corn and soybeans, are looking good. And that's just important to keep an eye on this time of year. As we get toward the end of this video, I want to show you again a map I really like looking at this time of year. It's a year-on-year comparison of what's called a vegetative health index. So what we're doing here is we're looking down from outer space to see how green things look. We're trying to understand the health of the crop. And you can look globally to see where there are some stressed spots by comparing a year ago to this year and where things are looking better. For example, you can see when you get up to these colors, that's when the year-on-year change is positive, looking better. Much of Brazil's safrinha crop looks better and Argentina's crop looks better as well. So you can pause the video, take a closer look at some regions you're interested in. But where I want to finish is on Friday. Just want to let you know the National Hurricane Center along with NOAA went through and reanalyzed Hurricane Michael. And it was upgraded to a Category 5. They had observation and reason to believe that the wind speeds there got it up into the Category 5 strength. And with that now makes the 4th known system to hit the United States at Category 5 in strength. So Michael, before that, it was Hurricane Andrew. Before that, it was Hurricane Camille. And before that, you got to go all the way back to the Labor Day hurricane in 1935. So I thought you might want to know that piece of news because Michael and Florence wreaked havoc on the Carolinas last year. And since we're talking about hurricanes, I'm going to finish up with this. We've been paying very close attention to a few things. We do have this weak El Nino event right now in the open Pacific Ocean. We also have warm ocean temperatures. I'll put a W there. Warm ocean temperatures that are off the southeast coast. Now, normally when we see El Nino conditions setting up in late spring and early summer, this tends to calm down the Atlantic in terms of its ability to produce big hurricanes. And it's primarily due to wind shear. They increase the winds too much across the Atlantic when there is an El Nino in the Pacific. We're starting to see the models pick up on this. This is for July, August, and September. This is precipitation rate. So when I see the model painting a dry picture in through here, that's the main development region for hurricanes. This is the model responding to the fact that there's an El Nino. But I want to come back to something here, okay? Just like last year, when you look at this map where we have warm ocean temperatures, if those ocean temperatures stay warm throughout summer, there's 2 things I'm concerned about. I'll switch over to white to show you this. 1, does this mean we get more southeast ridging? If that happens and a ridge sets up here, we get ring of fire precipitation around it, drier conditions underneath it. I'm watching it carefully. I'm not making a call on it just yet, but I'm watching it. I want you to watch it with me. The second thing is, if the waters are warm off the coast, we will have the ability to what we call homebrew a few systems. That means with the warm waters right off the coast, we do have the potential with any tropical system to rapidly intensify. And just remember, you can have a hurricane season that's forecast to be below average, but you can just have one system that causes all the problems. So we're just going to keep you up to date. Each week we'll talk about this and make sure we understand what our total risk package looks like in terms of weather as we progress throughout this 2019 growing season. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this forecast video. I want to thank you for your attention. I hope you look forward to my next forecast video coming out next week. Thank you.